Hey gang, we are back at Rosehill Cemetery. Brittan's with us again. He's going to be the star of the show today, and I'm just going to work the camera and we're going to listen to Brittan talk about all his unbelievable knowledge about famous people here at Rosehill. This is going to be basically a history lesson, mostly just all kinds of people, known and unknown, that Brittan is going to talk about. And by the way, Brittan does do cemetery tours. I'm going to leave his email in the description box. Scroll down. If you're interested, you can contact him direct. But let's take a walk, and I'm just going to follow along.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So as we started to walk out of here, we came across this monument here, which appears to be what you were saying is a pre-Civil War, or well, not pre-Civil War, it'd be right after the Civil War. The guy was maybe killed in the Civil War.
At first you would think by seeing the hat, but thinking about it, any ones we see like this with this limestone that's really weathered away, 90% of the time these were moved from the old city cemetery here. The old city cemetery graves were pre-Civil War. They were the 1840s, 1850s.
What are we seeing here? So this used to be this is a cap that's kind of melted away.
Yeah, and then it looks like a badge here maybe for the company where there would be initials here. This looks like maybe a, what the heck? Maybe
sword?
A saber, you know, a sword, cavalry,
sword.
that would be. But yeah, a mysterious one here. Maybe with the
writing, of course,
like the infrared or however you would pick that up, but for sure no etching on this. It's really it's just hanging in there by a thread, kind of what numbers. But there are some kind of numbers and a bit of a name you could make out on there. One of the mysteries here in this section. A lot of mysterious ones with soldiers.
All right. Okay, we are at the Ludlam obelisk. Let's hear what this is all about. Tell us who he was.
The original resident of the cemetery.
The first tomb.
Yep.
The first burial.
And actually before the cemetery was started in 1859. I want to say Dr. Ludlam was laid to rest, but this was the very first body to ever be laid here. He had a few friends and relatives around him. Dr. Ludlam was the physician for Hiram Rowe and his family. You have at this section here, now looking back, we have the cathedral, which we've talked about, the loading ramp, where Hiram Rowe's house was. Everything from this area north, though, up until I believe 1867 or 1868, was private properties. Not all of this was Hiram Rowe's land. And Ludlam was also the physician for the three Scottish families that owned the properties going towards Peterson. And only after Dr. Blaney got the good ball rolling and good investments were they able to, were the family of Dr. Ludlam able to convince the property owners this way to sell the rest of their land and give it to the cemetery. They did that with one exception, though, that there would be Scottish families, in particular Scottish Masons, buried in the area going more north. Okay. So once that was green lighted, you have plots being bought up right here by people that kind of missed out on the great big sale that went down the spring of 1859. Quite a few of these families, when we go more north this way, are pre-Chicago fire. They're pre-Chicago fire businesses. Some of these people were able to survive with their fortunes. Some of them were not able to. We also have a point in time in the mid-1860s, 1866, 1867, where there was a cholera epidemic here in Chicago, which gave for even more of a reason to get rid of the old city cemetery, which was kind of causing some of the bacteria and stuff that was on the waterfront there. You know, it was a rush to get the bodies, to get all the action out from the city cemetery, and they needed more land here. After all the rich families picked out everything, you didn't have to, if you were late to the show in 1859, you kind of had to move a little bit further. And honestly, the rich of the rich wanted to be right up in the front. Were able to come in right in from the entrance. After the Scottish families sold this land, you do have some of the business owners come in and seize their chance. And that's where we're going to head next.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, here we have the Lill family. The Lill family, famous for beer, brewery. The Lill brothers were partners with a gentleman, his first name's not coming to me, last name Diversey, which the street is named after. However, Mr. Diversey, in actuality, he didn't, the end of his name wasn't S-E-Y, it was just S-Y. Diversey and all his relatives are a few blocks away over at St. Boniface. But the important thing about their brewery was really the first successful brewery. We had a few German immigrants that came over before them, one by the name of Conrad Sulzer. They had century-old beer recipes from their family. Conrad Sulzer sells his formula to the Lills and Diversey, and from there they pick up with mass production. Pre-Chicago fire, the Lill and Diversey beer warehouse was actually right next to the water tower downtown. Right
on Michigan.
Sure. And there are aerial pictures of a couple days after the fire. And real interesting, you can actually see where the Lill Diversey Brewery warehouse was.
Was that Michigan Avenue and Oak Street right there?
Right on the corner.
Yeah.
And their beer warehouse had exploded.
By Water Tower Place. Yeah.
The Water Tower, Boyington's engineering, that limestone, however he did it held up. But the buildings surrounding it, especially the great big beer warehouse, literally exploded. The brick and the mortar was exploding from the heat of the fire. That's very true. From that aerial footage picture that's coming to my mind, you can actually see where their great big warehouse was. Disaster. The Lills do pick up, but it doesn't happen right away. They do pick up where they left off, and I want to say they end up selling their formula. The Lill Diversey end up becoming Ham's Stroh's after
interesting.
a while. I'm not exactly positive on that. But yeah, the Lill and Diversey kind of goes under after a while. They were big rivals with Peter Schoenhofen. Schoenhofen is the fella at Graceland Cemetery with the angel and the Sphinx. And, yeah, he ties in all the
ties in
different
okay.
architecture styles.
Let's go to the next one.
The next one would be right next door here. Let's keep it rolling.
Let's roll it.
The Hamlins. At this time in the 1850s, 1860s, there's a popular fella named Hannibal Hamlin from the state of Maine that was Abraham Lincoln's vice president. He's going to jump into one of our stories here.
Okay.
These guys distantly related to the Hamlins from Maine, but not so much. These are the Hamlins of Chicago who, God, what were they famous for here? Oh, they were famous for what was called Hamlin's magician oil. Yeah.
Snake oil.
Snake oil salesman. That Hamlin magician oil, though, from the time the formula is first made in 1840 up until 1895, 1900, it's a huge seller. It fights everything from rheumatism, arthritis, gout. Also claim that it cured cancer, which would, with the grandchildren, get them into trouble. Because in 1904, the United States government passes the law which you could no longer make false claims on elixirs and tonics and stuff like that.
Right.
And they get sued. They get sued for claiming that their magical Hamlin oil cures cancer. And then from there, the fortune kind of goes in different directions. But yeah, this here tomb, two Hamlin brothers, and it was built on the money of snake oil salesman.
Snake oil Sam, we'd almost say.
Yep.
Well, let's see if we can...
Cool looking in there. You got broken stained glass.
Yeah, she focuses. Okay. Is that? Yeah, it's broken. One of the vaults looks. No, I guess not. It looks like it was caving in, but apparently not.
And there's quite a few people in here. There are eight vaults on each side. That would be 16. I see some of them are blank, but also on the back wall, that plaque are more names. William Starr Hamlin. It was the man with the plan.
Okay.
And then I think one of his sons' name was Lysander. One of Lysander's sons was the one that was pretty much shut down by the government. They had to reformulate their formula because it was not the cure for cancer.
All right, you guys all remember that we did the Cummings Cherry and we hit this area, but this is why you hire Brittan, because we missed probably one of the coolest, well, we didn't know really anything about this. This section right here is what, for the Scottish, and sorry about the background noise, they're drilling, but we've got to cover this. Really neat.
Yeah. Okay, so I explained how the three families that were, well, the three properties that weren't yet incorporated into the cemetery gave up their land, but only if there would be a majority of Scots and Masons, Scottish Masons in particular.
Right.
One of the owners of one of those homesteads was very adamant, and then you have this area here. And now saying that...
So this is just for the Scottish people, and it's kind of like a city block. And it used to be a couple of residences. And by the way, this is 3rd degree Mason?
33rd degree Mason.
33rd degree.
Yeah, a lot of these gentlemen here are all master Masons. Some of them hold the rank of Templar Knights of their graves. The big main man here, though, is Mr. John Finch, and Mr. John Finch here was the president of the International Order of Good Templars. Good Templars, good guys.
Good
what
guys.
What did they really specialize in? The temperance movement.
The temperance movement.
Yeah, the
wow.
temperance movement based out of Evanston. Back with Dr. Ludlam, as I was explaining.
That's where they emanated from. That's where it started here?
Yeah.
Evanston. Interesting.
Yeah,
Evanston is a suburb just to the north of here. Very nice area.
Just to the north.
Let's take a look at the inscription here for Mr. Finch.
I explained with Dr. Ludlam over there how he was a famous doctor from Evanston, not so much the city. And
right.
You had people from the city going north to get away from the city to move their bodies around.
Right.
Or you had people from Evanston trying to go south to get
right.
their family members closer to the city.
Ah.
That's how Ludlam got over there. His family wanted him closer to the city, closer to the Scottish families that he right. healed and helped throughout Evanston in the north part of Chicago. Finch knew Dr. Ludlam. Finch here, also the president of the Templars. John Finch dies young. John Finch died young. He died tragically. I want to say he was either 34 or 35 years old. And he was...
Does he have a stone here?
Yeah, he's right here, this great
look at
big
this.
slab. He
Look
actually
at this.
died in Pennsylvania or...
Look at that.
Pennsylvania or New York.
1852 to 1887. Oh, boy.
There was some real fuss, though, after he passed away. He left behind a lot of unfinished business. Literally 24 hours after he passed away, they had his body on a train making its way back here for burial. You had a very special ceremony. It was like off limits. These good Templars were good, temperate, sober people, but they were mysterious with their practices.
Right.
And for years and years after John B. Finch died, they would hold a ceremony here on, I believe, the 1st or 2nd week of May. They would have some type of ceremony here in his honor. Died tragically. Appendix something, it was a mystery. He might have been poisoned. There's a little bit of murder perhaps, involved with it. But yeah, the death of John B. Finch totally turned this lodge upside down.
Well, let me ask, look at this. And there are no, let's look over here. There are no graves.
Yeah.
We have this section here. There's a little concentration of grave markers. And this whole block that you see here is vacant. So you talk about forgotten.
Yeah.
And this was all for the Scottish.
The Scottish Masons, one of whom the main ones was one of our very famous
the old Metro.
which was at one time a Pullman, but yeah, bodies coming in off of those trains here.
That was the Pullman line.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, another angle here at the slab for John Finch. And Brittan's going to talk about some really mysterious, creepy things. Mason, it is said what they had an underground vault here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there may be still a vault, get some ground penetrating radar. Boy, that would be a project. But tell us, what do you know?
Well, the urban legends about that kind of surround the ceremony that this order would have out here on the certain anniversary. It was early Sunday. It was like 6 a.m. in the springtime. These people would arrive here and have this ceremony. Went on for a lot of years, so a bunch of urban legends start to swirl about why and how they'd come out here and do it. The first thing that came to my mind was like some Indiana Jones stuff. We are actually going up a hill here, and if there was any kind of underground something, like an underground tombs, very similar to E.A. Fisher, you know, something like that.
Right.
Came into my mind.
Right.
So I did actually come with a buddy of mine. He used a little bit of that ground radar.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, I thought that maybe something underneath this.
Neat.
So, but didn't get anything there.
Nothing.
And another fishy thing, though, that you didn't mention when you talked Cherry Cumming, and we didn't get anybody in the comments, is the fact that underneath Cherry Cumming's monument, there has
underneath this one here?
Yeah, you can see where
Let's take a look.
The granite squares that are all put in place.
Yeah, there's something going on underneath. I didn't
something underneath
notice that when I was doing this.
Uh-huh. And of course, there's gopher holes all over, but there are parts of this hill that are just loose and soggy.
Yeah, there could be an underground chamber here.
The urban legend survives, perseveres.
Boy, that would be.
Cumming Cherry, so awesome. We got a lot of feedback.
Boy, what's behind there? You have to wonder. Look at those panels. They're. So we saw that. We talked about that on a prior episode. That's total Mason. And what do we have here? We have the cap, right?
Yep.
And then the shield, shovel and hammer. It looks like a protractor surveying device.
And he was a geologist.
Yeah, oh, this guy was the geologist, And the all-seeing eye, there it is. Ooh, that's spooky. All right.
Let's keep on walking.
Let's go.
H&H Homes.
H.H. Holmes.
Are we ready, gang?
So we're talking about H.H. Holmes now.
And we have
Tell us about him. We know about him.
Yeah. He was the chief inspector of the police department at that time, John J. Badenoch. Yeah, this man had the unfortunate, dubious task of trying to solve that mystery.
Oh, he was one of the lead investigators, huh?
The chief investigator. And he really wasn't even a police officer. He was actually a farmer. And pre-Columbian Exposition, there's good chance to bump up. And yeah, Mr. John Badenoch.
So he died in 1933.
Yeah, lived a good life.
Did he break the case?
No, the case was actually broken by an inspector, I think, in East Coast somewhere. Someone that was tracing the Peitzel children, Benjamin Peitzel.
Oh yeah, the kids that disappeared.
The paper trail, and then Holmes was like writing bogus checks in Peitzel's name, and he was following a paper trail of Holmes, who was at the time traveling with the Peitzel children, Pennsylvania somewhere. That inspector, a phone call to Badenoch, and then they start to tie things together, and he becomes one of the most wanted men, H&H Holmes, till he's
that broke it open.
Yeah.
Neat.
Herman Mudgett.
Now, I don't know if you remember, I did this very early on. This is the Givens family plot, and as I recall, there are no headstones, and I was trying to figure out who she was, who they were, and of course, who do you hire? You hire Brittan. He knows all about it. He's got it all in his head.
Mrs. Jan Givens. Mrs. Jan Givens was the wife of, I can't think of his first name, but the Givens Irish Castle, which is down on the southwest side. It's a famous monument. I think it's in Beverly or something like that. But dig into the Givens Irish Castle.
What did they do? What was their...
He was a lumber baron here on the north side, and he just wanted to get out of the city. And in the city, they were starting to make laws on building this and that. He wanted to build himself a castle.
Okay.
He was very superstitious too. He wanted to build a home that had no corners in it because something.
Oh, one of those.
Yeah. So he builds this castle on top of a hill down in Beverly. It's still there to this day. It's called the Irish Castle. Gibbons Irish Castle.
Neat.
Really now known as the Irish, just the Irish.
We'll have to go
Castle.
down there. Maybe we'll find a picture of it.
This is his wife Jan. The story goes he went down to that area in Beverly and. You know, he got to the top of a hill and he just saw this very cool area. And his wife, who was along with him, said, "You know what, babe, this is it. This is where we're going to build our land. I just had a vision looking over this hillside of knights in shining armor riding horses, and we're going to make this our
What
American
nationality
Camelot."
are they?
Irish Scots.
So we're still Irish Scot.
Yeah, this whole section, yeah.
Check this out. As we're walking along here doing this thing, Brittan has found the grave of Archer Fischel, which was a whole episode I was going to do, and I'm going to do it right here. This is the Sen High School. Well, it said it's legendary that they went to Sen High School together, and one was killed and the other committed suicide, right?
Yeah. And a ghost story tied into it?
I think it was the girl who committed suicide.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I can't think of any first names, but you have Fischel, the boy, dies in the auto accident around the high school.
Right.
And then shortly after, the daughter kills herself. The father was so distraught.
Right.
The fact that she killed herself, though, the family, or there was something against her being buried, so she was cremated.
Right.
And he built a monument in his family's plot in honor of her and her boyfriend who died in the accident.
Wow. We found it. Brittan found it, guys.
Yeah. And we've dug deep into this. This is not in the cemetery archives.
Right.
Archer Fischel are names you will not find at Sen High School alumni.
No, we Deb and Trish looked in the yearbooks for Sen. They're not in there. So what do you think?
Mysteries. Well, the first thing that jumps into my mind is let's get a hold of Trish and Deb and
yeah, let's do some more research on this one.
We've got names here. We've got names
look at
of
this.
relatives and dates.
Look at this.
But part of the story.
Let's take a look here. Wow. We found it. This is a huge breakthrough, guys.
Yeah.
So here's Alexander Archer, and I'm guessing. Oh, there's no. There's just 1979.
1892, 1979.
Oh, I see at the top left.
That makes him like 87 years old.
Yep.
He lived a long life.
And then this would be the mother, 1902
to 98.
to 98.
Wow,
and then we've got Morton. Okay, so we have Fischels and Archers, but
Two
no
families.
You know, they're probably buried here unmarked, right?
Mysteries. And part of the story was that, you know, he was destroyed. There was a monument that they had an idea to put here.
Right.
But after she killed herself, he destroyed that monument, turned it into rubble, and built this one up. The fact that we have another Fischel here, maybe this is a relative of Arnold Fischel, Elizabeth Archer.
Right.
Looking at this, sir, though, look what we have. We have rubble of something crushed, the granite all broken up.
Yeah, still here.
Maybe that story that we had just debunked is not debunked after all.
Look at that, guys. There is pieces of granite. Actually, most of them buried, and they're not off this. This is clean.
Yeah.
So this is a newer deal here.
Yeah, and this is kind of 50s, 60s era.
Right.
This granite style.
Yeah, 60s, 70s for sure.
If this is indeed Arnold Fischel and Elizabeth Archer, we are on to something.
All right, we will
not
continue
forgotten.
this story, hopefully learn more.
Amazing. We found it. Awesome.